My brothers and sisters, what is going on? Steel Sermon in the house. It is Tuesday afternoon with another video. As always, do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. The link is posted in the box down below. That moment of time has come. The Super Bowl. The one that we've all been waiting for. The one that every team in the league plays for. And it's finally here, and we caught quite a dandy of it. As the Kansas City Chiefs, the top seed in the AFC, take on the Philadelphia Eagles, the top seed in the NFC. The Chiefs, their third Super Bowl appearance in the past 4 seasons. And the Eagles, their fourth Super Bowl appearance as a franchise, their first since 2018. So, this is going to be my prediction for the Super Bowl, and I'm just going to get right on into it. There's a lot of notes to go over, a lot of stats to go over, a lot of key matchups, and a lot of X factors to go over. No upsets, no score predictions, no nothing. Just who wins and why. But let's talk about each team first before I get into it. So with the Kansas City Chiefs, when the offseason began for them, they were down Tyreek Hill, and there were a bunch of question marks surrounding the team. And everyone kind of wrote them off. Well, maybe not wrote them off, but they kind of said, well, the Chiefs look like they can take a step back this year. Are you sure they're the best team in the AFC still? The Chargers got a lot better. I think that they can beat Kansas City. I was admittedly one of those people who said that. Denver just got Russell Wilson. That aged like sour milk. And the Raiders, well, are just there. The Chiefs just got better. You know, Patrick Mahomes played the best, probably the best season of his career, which includes his MVP season from his first season in 2018. Well, his first season as a starter. And it just goes to show you, Kansas City always has a chance. And they always have the best chance at winning when Mahomes is in the equation, even if he's on one leg, you know? So that's the story there. But you take a look at the rest of the group that the Chiefs have. Isaiah Pacheco's been a standout for them. He averages a bunch of yards on the ground when he gets his carries. Jarrett McKinnon's still running the rock pretty well. So Kansas City, we know that they can spread the ball around. We know that they can gash you left and right. And that's what they've been predicated on with Mahomes in the equation. Now you take a look at their weapons. They're not phenomenal weapons, but they're definitely serviceable. Mecole Hardman is still there. I don't think that he's a top headliner of the league, but he's a vital enough piece for this team. Juju Smith-Schuster is injured. I don't know the status of him, but when Juju is healthy, he has really turned his career around, and he's become a really good target for Patrick Mahomes. Kadarius Toney, when he's healthy, same story. He's turned it around since going to Kansas City. And then, of course, you got the main one in Travis Kelce, who's been there a long time with the Chiefs, and he is definitely the leader as far as the weaponry goes. Oh, by the way, did I mention that Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce are brothers? Yeah, not like we'll hear that 1,000 times. But anyway, that's Kansas City's weapons as a whole. They are productive, and that's why that they've contributed to complementing Mahomes into being the highest scoring offense in the league. The Chiefs' O-line, when it's healthy, it ranks among one of the best in the league. Mainly Humphrey and Brown being the biggest headliners there for Kansas City. The rest is kind of mid, but still the O-line is pretty solid for Kansas City. But then we take a look at the Chiefs' defense. It's mainly 2 guys right there, Frank Clark and Chris Jones. Jones, same story with him. The guy's a monster. The guy is just a mad dog on the loose, and there's no stopping him. But Frank Clark has been a little disappointing this season. But then you take a look at guys like George Karlaftis and Carlos Dunlap. They have been good headliners for Kansas City this year as well, and a really good confidence booster for that defense right there. But the pass defense is easily the weakest link of the Chiefs right there. They have the worst pass defense in the league, if not one of the worst. And we knew that was going to be a problem when they lost to Honey Badger and Ward in the offseason. And now Javarius Sneed is injured. So their best guy as far as the pass defense and the secondary probably will not be playing in the biggest game of the season. So they will have to most likely rely on Watson, McDuffie, Reed, and Thornhill in order to fill the gap. Not many, names to strike fear in opponents, but it's what Kansas City has, and it's what Andy Reid is going to have to deal with. And Andy Reid, another storyline book for this matchup, Andy Reid has his hands full against a team that he knows all too well, which is where I transition into the Philadelphia Eagles. So, in order to understand how the Eagles got here, let's go back to a couple years ago in 2020. 2020 rolls around. It had been 3 years since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and there were a lot of question marks around the Eagles as well. Who's going to be the quarterback of the future? Are the Eagles going to move on from Carson Wentz? Who are they going to draft as far as the weapons go? How's the O-line holding up? What's Howie Roseman doing? A lot of questions over there in Eastern Pennsylvania. But then something happened. The draft came, and the Eagles, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to take Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. And seeing how big of a mistake that was, Howie Roseman decided we're punting this season, we're going to finish last place in the division, and we're going to restart and tear it all down in 2021. The Eagles that season went 4-11-1, last in the NFC East, and everyone in that division thought, well, the Eagles are done. The Eagles are doing this. The Eagles are doing that. They have no clue what they're doing. Oh, they're going to have Carson Wentz for the long-term future. He's injury prone. He can't get the job done himself. Remember, the Eagles also took Jalen Hurts in that draft as well, and everyone's laughing at their quarterback situation as far as them being with how their draft and scouting's going. But then something happened in the offseason of 2021. They got rid of Carson Wentz, and they were able to find Gardner Minshew, who is a viable backup for Jalen Hurts. And all of a sudden, they start to draft better. And the Eagles, all of a sudden, win 9 games in 2021. A season where everyone thought that they wouldn't do anything that year, which was supposed to be a rebuild year for Philly. And they make the playoffs. Now, granted, they got beat by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, but still, 9 wins in a rebuilding season. And what did Howie Roseman do in the offseason of 2022? He built off of that. In the offseason of 2022, they made up for passing on Justin Jefferson for acquiring A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans in a trade. And A.J. Brown, all he did was become one of the best receivers in the league, complemented with that stacked receiving core that they got, complementing Devontae Smith, and with their strong tight end in Dallas Goedert, and complementing the three-headed monster that they have in the backfield. That's what the Eagles did. 2 years, the Eagles went from a punching bag to the best team in the league. A lot of questions around Jalen Hurts entering this season. Is his passing going to improve? Is his accuracy going to improve? How is he going to step up in the pocket? How is he going to be able to handle pressure? How is he going to be able to move with his legs? How is he going to be able to read defenses? Jalen Hurts has answered all those questions pretty phenomenally, I would say, saying that he is an MVP candidate. His accuracy, his athleticism, his maneuverability has made him by far the best two-way quarterback in the league. Probably the best that we've seen since Steve Young. Probably even Michael Vick. But Jalen Hurts really rose up to the challenge this year, and that's why he's in the MVP talks. Weapons, as I said. Miles Sanders, one of the best running backs in the league. Boston Scott, a staple for the franchise. Kenneth Gainwell, rounding out that three-headed monster they have in the backfield. And I guess you can make Jalen Hurts the Fantastic Four. Weapons I already mentioned. Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. That's really all you need to know as far as the Eagles' weapons go. And then their O-line is one of the best in the league. Their pass protection is done incredibly well. Their guards don't give up a lot of sacks. The tackles a little spotty here and there, but still very strong, very impenetrable. This Philly offensive line is the real deal. But I haven't even begun to talk about the strongest part of the Eagles team, which is their defense. Not a thing wrong with that defense, in my opinion. Mainly their front. 4 guys this year for the Eagles with 10 or more sacks. Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, former Steeler Javon Hargrave, and Brandon Graham all registered over 10 sacks this year. And you still got guys like Fletcher Cox and Davis in there becoming vets and the norm for this team. Then you got acquisitions like Ndamukong Suh, Joseph, and Quinn, who have been wonders for that front 7 this season for Philly. Edwards and White rounding out the linebacking core as well, but the secondary and the pass defense is where it really gets good for Philly. That pass defense is by far the best in the league. They have the best passing defense in the league. When you get guys like Big Play Slay, Sauce Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury, and Epps. Just a phenomenal, well-rounded physical defense that the Eagles got there. They went from being the lovable underdogs in Rocky Balboa for the first time that they were there in 2017 to being Apollo Creed on steroids. That is how dominant this Eagle team is right now. So, that's how we know both these teams. That's how they both got here. Now let's take a look at my prediction and some key things to consider for this. So, looking at Kansas City, I already mentioned they had the highest scoring offense in the league, but Philly counters that with the highest passing offense in the league. The Chiefs this season, 26 sacks allowed, which is the 3rd fewest, but Philly this season, 70 sacks this season, by far the most in the league. And when you take into consideration that the Eagles also have the 3rd highest scoring offense, while Kansas City, they struggle to stop the pass offense, more often than not, that is a major advantage for Philly right there. The pass rush going up against Kansas City's O-line, that is a really big matchup favoring Philly right there. I just have to keep mentioning the 70 sacks right there. And not that the Chiefs' O-line doesn't do well against pressure, because it does, but it's just got too much on their hands right here. Mahomes is pretty much going to have to deal with a flash flood right here. Mahomes generally does well against pressure, but like I said, I think this is just too much for Mahomes right here. You take a look at you take a look at key matchups as far as the pass defense goes for Kansas City. You got 4 big gaping matchups right here. Reddick against Wiley, Brown versus Sweat, Trey Smith versus Cox, and then Joe Thuney against Javon Hargrave. Those are big matchups to watch up for this one. That'll show if Kansas City's O-line is among one of the top in the league, and it'll show that they can go up against a strong, stout defensive end, or a strong end front 7 in Philadelphia. However, Kansas City, they do have the 2nd best center in the league. He has been able to get snaps off pretty well. He is able to guard pretty well as well. So I think the Eagles, that's something that they got to look out right there. Mahomes, as I said, he plays well against pressure, but just too much to handle right here. And another thing to consider, the Chiefs are not totally healthy. Like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster's a little banged up in this one, and they're down one of their best, and they're down probably their best secondary guy on the team. So the Chiefs coming up a little bit banged up. Is Patrick Mahomes 100% healthy to go? I don't know, but only time will tell. Eagles, on the other hand, coming completely healthy. You got to imagine Gardner-Johnson's going to be on Travis Kelce, and the Eagles have done well against tight ends this season, so Travis Kelce has to have a solid game right here. They're the 5th best defense against wide receivers, so not having Juju Smith-Schuster, I think the Eagles are just going to smell blood in the water. The run offense against the run defense here. The Eagles' run defense is a little off. It's been probably their weakest link on that defense. So you got to get guys like Jarrett McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco involved as far as the run game goes for Kansas City. Philly's O-line has allowed 44 sacks this season, but their guards are nothing to laugh at, as I said, which is where I think Chris Jones is going to be up on Jason Kelsey. You know, the Chiefs, they have a strong pass rush as well. 55 sacks this season for Kansas City. They know how to bring the heat, and that's going to be a big test for Philadelphia as well. Dallas Goedert also going up against Kansas City's pass D against the tight ends. That is a favorable matchup as well, as Dallas Goedert just continues to improve as his career goes on. So here are my big deciding factors here, and I'm just going to say it, they all favor one side. The Eagles, their bread and butter as far as their offense goes, they go with the QB sneaks, and they've had great success with it. 29 out of 33 this year, the Eagles have been when having Jalen Hurts run a QB sneak. The Chiefs, on the other end of that, struggle against QB sneaks. They're just 1 for 14 as far as the QB sneaks go. Advantage Philadelphia. Another big X factor, the RPOs. How many times have we seen the Eagles run screen plays and run out patterns and have Jalen Hurts think to himself, I gotta go. There's no one else open. I'm the only one who can handle it right now. RPOs. The Eagles excel at RPOs as well. The Chiefs, not so much. I mean, Mahomes is able to pick up chunks of yards with his legs as well, but I'm talking about the Chiefs' defense against the RPOs. That's a mismatch right there. And finally, the biggest one. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's the best pass offense versus the best pass defense. And this has happened 2 other times in the Super Bowl where the best pass offense went up against the best pass defense. And I saw them both. Super Bowl 37 between the Bucs and the Raiders, and Super Bowl 48 between the Seahawks and the Broncos. What happened both times? The best pass defense won. The Eagles are the epitome of defense wins championships. And that's why that they have the best defense in the entire league. Kansas City is a phenomenal team, but this Super Bowl, I'm telling you right now, is going to be one of 2 things with no in between. Number 1, it's going to live up as advertised, and there's going to be points on the board lighting it up like a Christmas tree. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It may be the highest-scoring Super Bowl of all time. Or, number 2, it's going to be a repeat of a couple years ago in Super Bowl 55, where Mahomes was running for his life, and the Chiefs' offense just got shut down by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their defense in Super Bowl 55. This game right here is going to be one of those 2 things, bottom line of everything. But regardless of what the final outcome is, I think the Philadelphia Eagles take home their second Lombardi. This Eagles team, you know, I doubted them in the playoffs. I thought that they peaked too early. I thought that they had some mismatches with the Giants and the 49ers. But Philly don't care. They really don't care. They just said, you know what? We don't care about what you have better than us. We're better than you as a whole. And that's the mentality that Philly has. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to bring home their second Lombardi. And just as a bonus, I'm going to go outside the box a little bit as far as the MVP goes, because I know a lot of people like to give the MVP to a quarterback, but I like to think outside the box. And I'm going to say that the MVP is actually going to be Hassan Reddick. Why Hassan Reddick? The dude led the league in sacks this season with 16. He was second in the league. I'm sorry, he was second in the league in sacks with 16. The guy brings a lot of heat, and I think he is going to be the biggest difference maker in this Super Bowl. Can Jalen Hurts win it? Absolutely he can. Can Miles Sanders win it? Absolutely he can. But I'm going to think outside the box here and say that Hassan Reddick wins Super Bowl MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, that'll do it. The final pick of the tournament, the final prediction of the tournament, as it's the final game of the season. the first time that both number one seeds in each conference go at it in the Super Bowl, I believe, since the last time the Eagles made it, correct me if I'm wrong, back in 2017. A battle of the two youngest quarterbacks to ever go at it in the Super Bowl. Andy Reid going up against his former team in the Super Bowl. You got the Kelsey brothers going at it, Travis and Jason. And even though I don't like to throw the race card in there, I guess you can say, yes, the first time in Super Bowl history, two black quarterbacks are starting on each team. So there you have it. Lots of headlines for Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. And let's get this show on the road. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is Steel Sermon, checking on out for the day. May God be with you all.